Alex again with Shenanigans and More, and today's topic is really interesting, so I decided to kind of be my tomboy self because I wanted to know men and the struggle of self-love, and that's for today's topic. I wanted to let you guys know I am having a guest over today. Well, I had an interview with my guest today, and I just wanted to let you guys know a little bit about today's topic. So I did ask my guys, my friends that I know personally, these following questions, and I just wanted to know, what the real struggle is in men's self-love, if any of them struggle with it, because I know us women, we do, and it's a lot out there on social media and just TV and everything that we like to talk about it, but we never really talk about men. And so I decided to ask a couple of them and have a guest over and find out what they had to say. So today's questions, I asked my friends, what does self-love mean? Do you love yourself? That's a little strong one. And do you have a daily routine to remind yourself to self-care, to self-love? I also asked, did you grow up with that? Or did you have to learn that along the way? And I personally feel that it's a little bit of both, I think, but we'll see what they had to say about that. And another question, was there ever anything physical or personality-wise that others made you feel that it wasn't cool or it wasn't good looking or whatever, that not necessarily they didn't like, but that, other people made them feel uncomfortable about. Another question is, what would you tell your younger self if you could? I think we all kind of wish we had that little time machine and go back and tell our younger self, don't act silly, don't do certain things, don't take it up offensively, or I don't know, just things that we wish we could tell ourselves, So I asked them that, and I do have pre-recorded my interview with my dear friend Alan, who is also a podcast guy, and him and his friends are doing that's what's called the Discussion Lounge. You can look them up. They actually have a lot of cool and very informative videos on there. I will be putting his information somewhere around here down below or in the videos information. It's been super interesting to me because I really wanted to know what the point of view of men in the struggle of self-care. When I did ask, I did have very confused dudes about it, which was really interesting. But most of them had really beautiful answers, actually, that mesmerized me and surprised me a lot. And not to say that I wasn't expecting them to self-care, but I don't know, I guess it's just a total different. I haven't asked the women, but I feel like it was a total different answer to what I was expecting. I don't know, but let's get started. So I got a couple of answers from my very dear friends, and here is what we came up with. One of my friends said health, being mindful of not overdoing snacks or alcohol, not putting yourself in self-destructive situations. For him, self-love was always trying to do better tomorrow than today. And I think that's actually really important. Most definitely, making sure you're not doing anything destructive to yourself or to others. But since we're talking about oneself, himself, there's to my other friend was to accept yourself and do the best you can, and also to stay healthy. And this is really important to me because when I think of self-love, I do think of my self-care, but I didn't think that health was super important. I mean, obviously it's important, but not for self-love. I don't know. To me, it's a little bit more about the mind, and we'll talk more about what I think. But for now, let's talk about the guys. Someone else said, not falling for social media or what society expects you to look like. Self-care is to stay true to yourself and to always keep the original you and not change for like other people's acceptance and like uh whatever society expects of you. And I think that's one of the things that I'm doing here, is because you know, yeah, fuck whatever you guys want to think or want to tell me that my life should be like. Yes, I'm a 30-year-old, but I get to do whatever I want. It's not whatever my family expects me to do or wants me to do or wants me to have a baby. That topic. You know, men get attacked about that too, all the time too, but not as much as like girls, I think, in my culture. Anyways, thanks my friends for that. To be loved for who you are, not change and accept that that is you. This was personally, this was for like personally, like, if you have a partner that person cares for you, loves you just the way you are, doesn't want to change you. I think that a lot of us, sometimes, not to mention in toxic relationships, we end up trying to be this like conform, this like person, to be loved and to not be left, or to not like change, you know, who they want us to be. And then we do that, we change ourselves to be accepted. And that's part of the things that's very important not to do, to stay true to yourself, you know. This one was a really interesting one. They just get bigger and bigger. Self-love to me is to do whatever my soul needs that day. And I thought that was so beautiful. He said, I just always remember that I have me in my corner. I remember that I could depend on me. Be there for me, cheer me on, love me. Situations in life had made my friend very clear that he had himself, you know. And I really find this very interesting and very lovely. Because I speak for myself. I personally have have done it before, where I've tied my goals and my dreams and myself to people, and then when things don't work out, I feel like I'm broken, or I'm, you know, damaged or something, and that really hurts yourself, because you are not like 100% loving yourself when you do that. So if you just remember, like, I'm not saying don't be in relationships or anything like that, like, I keep sounding like it, that's what I'm saying, but just don't tie it to people, because, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to walk away. It could just mean that, God forbid, something happens to them, and then what's gonna happen with you? Like, you have to be able to keep yourself together and tie that self-love to yourself. Like, always keep yourself in your corner, and know that no matter how bad and how like low you get, you always have yourself to bring yourself back up. You know, I think that's really lovely, and that's part of it. My friend's partner showed him that love can also mean that he can love himself, but that he can let others love him. And I think that's very important as well, to always remember that you can love yourself and you can be yourself and keep it to yourself, but allowing others to love you. You know, like, a lot of my friends here cared a lot and believed that the self-love really mattered was keeping their family, looking at their family. That was one of my friend's daily routine, watching his family be there and need him and love him, you know. And that was his daily reminder that he needed to love himself, he needed to take care of himself, that he needed to be there. And that's really, really cute. Like, that's really important. Like, when I said it caught me off guard, all of their answers was this, like, for sure. You know, I feel like if somebody would have told me that a long time ago, like, it would have made so much more sense growing up and taking care of myself and loving myself and not tying my goals and my my dreams to people, you know. This one was a really interesting one, and I love this person very much. He believes that he doesn't think that he needs to love himself, that he needs to love his wife and his family, that well, his wife is his family, and that's the person that he cares about, as long as he's good, she's good, and that's what matters to him. uh but none of that was taught to him as a kid, like, to that his wife was his priority, or like his self-love, that she was a part of it. And when I asked him about if there was a part of him that he didn't like, he did say there was a part of him that he didn't like, and he didn't like to show it, because not necessarily that he didn't like it for himself, that he didn't like this part of him, but that other people pointed it out and like made it really awkward, and like always asking like weird questions, and I hate it when people do that. But sometimes people just, I don't know, are ignorant. I don't know. They just don't even acknowledge that you could be hurting somebody's feelings with it, so don't take it too personal, my friend. Mwah. So someone else said, to me the most important thing is staying healthy, keeping weight off, keeping toxic people out. I feel like that's one of the most repetitive one. It's really important, like keeping just staying sane, keeping you people out who don't need to be there. So to maintain healthy relationships with friends and loved ones, taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually. Can't have one without the other. And I really wanted to quote him on that, because I find that now that I'm grown and I've like learned so many things, I feel like that's so true and very beautiful. I didn't grow up with religion, so I feel like I keep doubting myself that spiritually that I'm not really there. But now that I'm dedicating myself to something important to me, that I connect with, that I value, that I reflect on, and it's like giving me like a whole life-changing experience, and I feel more awakened. I'm not trying to mock it. I'm just saying, like, I'm still learning. I'm still in the process of it, and that's definitely true. To feel like I'm loving myself more now that I'm more connected spiritually, and that I'm trying to take care of myself physically, and that my eating habits are changing, because I just want to do better. I just want to take care of myself and love myself that way. I feel like my last breakup, everybody kept telling me, you just have to love yourself, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, I love myself, I care about myself, I do the best I can, and then I have bad days, like, it's not that I don't see why you guys say that I don't love myself. But now that I'm connected spiritually, now that I'm connected to keeping myself healthy, to trying to have a better life, it makes sense. It's just making a little bit more sense. I have a friend who said he could do better. He doesn't have a daily routine to reflect on, but it is a little bit in the back burner. But talking to someone, like a stranger, like in therapy or something like that, could help, because they don't know you, they won't judge you. That was kind of cool. There was another one that was really, really beautiful to me, actually, because like he put his like family, like his mother, his brother, his sister, whoever, his siblings, his mother, his father, as part of like the people that he needed to love. Like, he didn't necessarily put himself first and thought of himself like needed to be self-loving, but he put his family first, like them, whenever he was down, whenever he needed help, whenever anything, like he could count on his family. And one of the things that I explained to him is that he was freaking blessed, because some of us don't have that, and some of us struggle with knowing that we can have someone have our back, and even in friendships and relationships, so let alone family, some of us don't have that, and he's definitely blessed to be able to count on them, to rely on him and support him and give him that love, and that was really beautiful. And also, again, like another dude who puts family first, to to his self-love, and who, like, has that and values that. And like, one of the things that he mentioned was communication. Like, they are not gonna hold back about talking about it, and like needing that, having that communication to be able to tell you, hey, like, today I had a crappy day, like, I'm not feeling myself, I'm not like caring for myself, I'm not loving myself, like, what do you think about this? And I think that's really cool. It's really amazing. No a la mala, but I envy you for that. Because it's really cool. Like, I love my family, and my family's there for me, and they have been there for me, like, this entire last breakup. Like, they were there for me throughout everything. But it's just kind of like, I don't think I have entirely that communication. I mean, another thing is I don't open up even to my family, about it. It was kind of hard to do so, and when I finally did, I did feel like I had their support and stuff. But anyways, so that was what my friends had to say about that. And here's an interview with my dear friend Alan from the Discussion Lounge, who wanted to share his point of view and the questions that I asked all my other friends about. So, here we go. Hi, Alan. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on your awesome podcast.
Awesome. I'm super excited to have you here. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started with this interview about self-love?
Sure. So I actually, well, I met Alex years ago, playing with my tribute band to Rage Against the Machine called Know Your Enemy. I've gigged all over the LA area, the greater LA area, a couple different states here and there. I'm currently working. I work as a teacher's aide at a school in the city of Orange County. I also have my own podcast called the Discussion Lounge, where I discuss news, politics, entertainment, anything that's happening right now. Anything that's making like big headlines, and usually just a lot of like politics and what's going on right now in the country. And yeah, that's what I'm up to. And now I'm a guest on your podcast. So.
Yay! I know, if anybody saw the first episode, I was just totally hating on you with all those like political like podcasts that everybody makes. I'm just
Yeah, I
kidding.
heard of that.
You guys know I love you guys. Yeah, but so I decided to have you, and I appreciate it very much to have you. I really want to have the point of view as in a male, and also like all of our 80s, 90s babies, like we're gonna be the old people that everybody's talking about. So I definitely think it's something important that we talk about as like male perspective and self-love. It's definitely been eye-opening to have these conversations with men for me, because I feel like as a woman, it's always kind of like we always have like the media to talk about it, and like it's always very common to like discuss of like the self-love and like why we do it and why is it so important. So I feel like we oftentimes neglect the to see that in a male perspective, and this is why we're doing it. So can we get started?
Absolutely, it's your show. You lead the way.
So I had asked you previously, a little bit before, just what does self-love mean to you?
Yeah, so there's different types of self love. You can definitely talk about, like you said, people that have. Well, we were talking about it earlier. People that would have like routines, their daily routines when they just to remind themselves that, hey, man, whatever happens out there, make sure to love yourself and treat yourself right, or treat others right if that's what makes you feel good, right? And it should make you feel good, right, to treat others right. There's that kind of self love, right? Taking care of yourself, making sure that your mentality going out there every day is intact, because not everybody has the money to go see a professional. So there's many things that we as individuals have to do, just to make sure that we don't lose our shit at work, right? Or do something that we might regret. And this is something that's not taught to us regularly. So we have to we figure it out as we grow older, right? Like way after we graduate high school, for sure. You kind of, well, us, as soon as we kind of graduate, we start to see like, yo, adults kind of have their shit not together, like just as much as young people do, right? So like they're just fucking winging it just as much as the next person, right? There's the
Right.
very few percentage of people out there who played the game right, so yeah, there's that. And then we could get into the sex aspect, right? Where do you self-love yourself? Have you explored your body? Have you explored the different ways in which your body likes to feel?
Right.
And that's another part that a lot of us who come from Hispanic families, we definitely have know that growing up, sometimes your family tries to shun you away from anything
Right.
that's related to sex. So that's definitely another thing that we should all be thinking about.
When it comes to that,
Yeah.
yeah. And do you currently in your personal life love yourself?
Definitely more in the sexual way than I do the mental way. That's something that I'm not shy to say. Definitely, there's guys out. I mean, the porn industry, I'm sure, like, and the OnlyFans industry was booming during COVID for a reason, right? There was a
Right.
lot of guys out there doing some self love and some self healing. So I definitely do a lot of that. But as far as like to keep my mental state healthy and everything, I smoke cannabis, to keep a level head, and you know what,
Right.
like the some different people have their different reasons why they smoke, but
Right.
I've always like related weed smoking to like really like important chill figures in life, right? We got Bob Marley right here, who's one of them, and there's just others down the road that have amazing things to say and have really good insight. And not to say that just people that smoke weed are like that,
Have
but
it, yeah.
it's one of those things where I understand that I'm smoking something that comes out of the ground, something that's
Mhm.
kind of in a way part of like Mother Earth, right? Mother Earth doesn't make stuff by accident, right? So it's out there, and I smoke it, and it definitely makes me feel. It gives me this sense of more. I'm more conscious of other people around me. I make
Right.
sure that I'm not bothering people's space or being selfish.
That's
Um,
important, yeah.
yeah, so it definitely makes me think of others. Not to get too into politics and conspiracy, but like
Please no,
that
we're just
that no, but
limited.
that's that was just kind of like a reason why they didn't want to, they don't give it to soldiers or anything like that, because it makes you think about others,
Think,
right? And like
yeah.
yeah, so um yeah, I self
It
love
might
in
give
those
them a
ways.
conscience. It might give them a
Exactly.
conscience not to fight.
Exactly, and we don't want that, right? We want
So they don't
programmed.
want that. Okay,
Yeah.
enough. Do you have a daily routine? Would you say you? I mean, we were talking about it a little bit already, but do you have a daily routine as far as to something that you do to remind yourself to take care of yourself or to love yourself?
You know what? I hadn't really thought about it until you messaged me, about the topic, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I actually my showers in the morning is like a ritual, dude, because it's got to be mad hot. Like, it's got to be the
How long are
hottest hot.
they?
Depending on how long, how at what time I wake up, if I have enough
That
time, like I'll
you got that
just.
self loving, right?
Yo,
That
no, 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 I keep that out of the
self.
shower. I don't know. I don't really be doing that in the shower that much, even though it's probably like the cleanest way to do it. Um, but yeah, I just like to soak in there, and just think
Yeah.
about the day, what I want to accomplish in that day. Especially me, like where I work, I work with kids who are mad troubled, and I don't know what's gonna happen that day, right? So I gotta remind myself, like, hey, whatever you do, just
Regardless.
yeah, regardless of what's going on with you, you got to make sure that you don't manifest that at your work and then take it out on these kids, right? So
Right.
I definitely yeah, I realized that I've been getting up early and getting in that shower, and I spend a little too much time in there because I'm just like soaking in, like, all the.
Getting in the mode, the
Yeah,
mood.
it's something. It's like a game day, right? It's like if you're an athlete and you're in that shower and you're gonna put the uniform on. And yeah, definitely. I noticed that's one of the things that I really enjoy about my day. So I think that's one
That's
of them.
definitely good. That's definitely good. I actually myself, now that you mention it, I was thinking about that. I do a lot of like self healing with a friend of mine who's a healer, and also I've been taking Reiki classes. And one of the things that you can practice that I think it's really cool too is while you're in there soaking, think about like this giant shower head, while you're actually soaking. But instead of water, it's like a like light, like illumination, and wash all that bad stuff, all that negativity of like the night before, the day before of your day period, just like wash that off in your head, imagination, like just watch it go into like another big drain, and to remove all anything that was like, sent out to you, bad vibes or bad like negativity or anything like that. And just like, soak yourself, like you say, but in that light in your head. And I feel like it does wonders for me. Like whenever I remember to do it, I'm always like, I'm gonna have a good day. It's gonna be a beautiful thing. Like I'm myself, and it definitely helps to feel at least like mentally, like you said, like just like having a be ready for the day, and anything that comes to you.
Yeah, 100%. And like one of those things, like you just said, some people have to like to visualize, like what like their meditation, right? So like visualizing something like that in your head, like of light passing through you and cleansing you.
Yeah.
Like if you believe it and you feel it, like at that point you're meditating, right? So yeah,
Right.
that's definitely that's good.
So another question is, well, you kind of already answered it when we mentioned like, our culture, the Latin culture and all that stuff. But do you think that you grow up with this like kind of like your parents ever or siblings? Are you the eldest child? No,
I'm the youngest actually.
you're the youngest. So did
Yeah.
any sibling or did your parents ever tell you like, listen, like this is kind of important, like self-love yourself, like things about like that you think were kind of in that?
Definitely not. This was not a topic that was openly discussed in my family. Like there'll be times where there's family around and like there'll be like dirty jokes being thrown around, right? But they're
Right.
not gonna like sit you down and explain to you like, oh, this is how it is.
The bees.
Like yeah, the birds and the bees and los pajaritos. They didn't tell us about that, right? So the most that I got was just they told me make sure that que no vayas a embarazar a nadie, right?
Right.
So just make sure you don't get anybody pregnant. That was like the extent of my thing, and then everything else I learned at public school,
Oh,
right?
yeah, right.
Which was fucking, I mean, weird, right? Like you
Actually,
shouldn't.
now that you mention it, like I was just talking to a friend about the another topic, and we're like we need to make a whole episode about sex education and how terrible it is. Like our
Yeah.
parents just sign this form, they think, oh, she's gonna learn everything, he's gonna learn everything, they're just gonna know what to do, and like you go to class and you're just like giggling about like a penis picture and the back in that
Right.
day in the projector there was like no like nice computer thing to posting it, but like anything like that was just kind of like I really like I was talking to someone about it and they were mentioning how like in France, I gotta look it up to fact check it, but in France they were talking more focusedly on like the emotional aspect and consent and all these things, and I'm like, why don't we get that?
Oh
Like
my
that would
God,
have
we're
been
so
so much more
behind on
helpful.
that. It's crazy. No, if you talk to somebody like, and I don't want to be like anti like PC or anything like that, but this is really what you get like in the internet world or like for people who don't like dive into those topics, right? If you're like, oh, you
Right.
know what, like you kind of need a girl's consent, to be like, what the fuck, are you gay? Like that's
You're
kind of
right.
like the kind of shit they'll say to you, right? Which is way fucking out of line, but even they don't know that, right? Because there's
Right.
still people out there using phrases like that, right? And even me, like uh recently, like I got into like a situation with one of my nieces, y se me salió, and I was like, fuck, like I really need to stop saying that shit, right? Because we just grew up saying shit like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even
No
just about
censorship, no filter,
right, and
no
it's just
filter.
not about being online, but it's like you're gonna be around people, family members, friends, whatever, who feel a certain way,
Right.
and you gotta watch what you say, right?
Yeah.
But
But now that you
yeah,
mentioned that, it was another thing that my friend mentioned was that like, yeah, sex ed, they told you, oh, like you have to use condoms and all this stuff. And then she's like, but people were saying that that was not cool, and that like if you used a condom, you weren't cool. So she's like, what do you think I did the first time I did it? I didn't use a condom. And I was like, oh man, like,
yeah,
it's definitely true. Like
and this
you
is
we go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry, didn't want to cut you off, but yeah, this is a huge like issue, right? Where when you have conservative families, like they think like we shouldn't even be teaching them about contraceptive, right? We should just
Right.
be saying like, oh, like just wait till you're old enough, or wait till you're old enough, or like,
Or make it forbidden. Like the more
right,
forbidden it is, the more curious we get, the more we want to go
exactly.
do it.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it's super outdated, and not only that, everything in school is outdated, right? Like I work at a school right now, and it's like, dude, this is the same thing I had, and it's probably the same thing, that 10 years ago they had. It's still the same fucking chalkboard
Textbook.
and
Yeah.
or the marker dry erase board, right? And like they're still using paper, and it's like, it's just I think it's just one of those things where your parents are like, oh, they're gonna teach you at school, so we
Yeah.
don't have to teach it to you here, right?
Yeah.
But fortunately, and I think this is why I think your podcast, and of course there's hundreds of podcasts that probably talk about what the topics that you're going to bring up or whatever, but it's
Right.
in the way you talk about them, right? So when
Right.
you bring these topics up, this is something that fortunately I had when I was growing up, and it was Loveline on K Rock radio station.
Right.
And this was Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew Pinsky, and they would just take callers all night long for like 3 hours, all night long, and you would hear stories from cheating to stories from
Right.
having sex outdoors, like your last episode, stories about just people who just didn't understand, like oh, if you have sex in the shower, like can you still get pregnant? Like people were really like asking that kind of shit, so it was like, and these are just people that the public fucking school system failed them, right? So they're
Right.
asking fucking questions that are kind of obvious to you and me, but to some
Right.
people, they're like, oh, well, how did
No,
we get
it,
pregnant? We were having sex in the shower. How did you get
I
pregnant?
pulled it out.
Yeah, yeah, or pulling out, right? Oh, well, how could she get pregnant? Like I pulled out, like that's not how it works, buddy. There's like just constant like juice going on. Like you don't have to be, at orgasm to release
Right.
something. So, and there's
Right.
people that fucking don't know that, right? You talk to
Right.
like people and you ask them that shit, they're like, no, no, yeah, if you pull out, it's all good. I'm like, okay, yeah, talk to my primo who has fucking 3 kids or whatever, right? Like, and um, yeah. So fortunately, I had that, and I listened to it religiously, and I honestly I learned a lot from that show. I'm thankful that there was something out there like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, kudos to you for having a podcast
Yeah.
like that
Hopefully,
as well.
this helps other people and other men as well to understand that it's not just something that women do, and it's not like, it's something as simple as like, like you said, take soaking up your shower, taking advantage of your extra time in the shower. I feel like other things are kind of like, skincare, your grooming, buying yourself an outfit. I often have this thing where like I'm always like, if it's for anybody else, oh yeah, $100, who cares? And then like I need something or I want something that's gonna make me feel better, that's gonna do good me for me, and I was like, oh, it's $100. Like, do I really need it? And like, you gotta do some stuff that, to take care of yourself and do all
Treat
that.
yourself.
Treat yourself.
Yeah.
So, so the last question, sorta, is that was there anything or ever anything physical, or in your personality that you love to do, that others might have made you feel like it was bad or like it didn't look right, or I don't
Oh,
know.
100%. I mean, people would tell me like, dude, you're too fat to be on stage, right? Like I would get
Right.
that. I got that all the time.
Wait, when you start in that have you ever, sorry, when did you start in the tribute for Rage Against the Machines, and
Oh
then
man.
or was that your first band or you were playing before that?
No, so we at the very first band that I played in was called WMA, and it stood for Wolverine Monkey Assassins. It was just a stupid ass name that I think my brother had come up with, and we just were like, yeah, that's us, right? And yeah, that's like I played guitar and I sang in that band, and we actually had like have recordings, but like right before we were done recording like the 6 song EP that we were bringing out,
Right.
one of our guitar players decided that he wanted to quit. So he quit, and like we never did anything with it.
Right.
So then what happened was we just started playing backyard parties, and we would play all kinds of songs. We would play Rage Against the Machine, we would play Sublime, we'd play like any of the songs that were like hot and popping, at that
At the
time.
time. Yeah.
And my buddy of mine, he's like, "Hey man, like all those songs you guys do are cool, but that Rage shit, like that comes out the best. So I think you guys should just do that." And
Yeah.
that's what we. I think that was like around the age. Probably I'm gonna say like around 23, maybe 22, 23. So from then until
And you're
now,
25 now, so it's not very long ago.
I'm, yeah, 25. Yeah, third gonna be 35 soon. And actually, yeah, I think the project is actually done for, because I just asked the all the band members if they're gonna come back when COVID is over with. Everybody said yes except for the guitar player. So I think maybe it might be the end for Know Your Enemy, but I think it's time for us to come out with some original music,
Retire.
and we might not retire, but come out with original music and be an
So cool.
actual band instead of a tribute
Cool.
band. Um, but yeah, so I would say I've been doing it for like 12 years. Yeah,
Dang.
12 years on and off. Yeah, it was on and off, but yeah, 12 years.
So who the dared to call you too fat to be on stage? Because dude, you do a show, like you perform, like you just like you have it in you, like it just takes over once you're on stage. You're like a total different
Yeah.
person.
No, thank you. And that's always something that I was self conscious about too, but I never gave a fuck, because, the way that playing music made me feel obviously
Right,
was way more valuable to me than what people had to say,
for
right?
sure.
And not only that, the validation of every time I got up there at the end of the night, what were people
And
saying?
everybody was like just like giving you
Exactly.
props, giving you love.
Exactly. So like, there's never been a show where we got off and they're like, "Dude, you guys were whack." Like, it's never, never, not
Yeah.
one in those 12 years, dude. And even when we started and we were just like playing shows for like 5 people, like we still did it like as hard as we could do it, So yeah, it there was like people who would see that band and they would want me to play in their band, and they're like, "Yo, but if you want to play in our band, like you kind of have to lose weight, blah 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 blah. Like we have
No
it, like we
way.
have an image to uphold, like this kind of shit, like
And this is
or
between dudes? Like I
yeah, this
thought
is
girls were
between
like
dudes
that.
and no, 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 no. This was with dudes and other bands, and like and guys who were in the band, but they were also like the band manager. And
Right.
so, they think like, "Hey, well, you know what? We kind of want you to look more like us. So, like, if you could drop some weight or blah, 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 blah." Yeah, that definitely happened to me, more than once for sure.
Well, I'm
Uh,
glad you didn't give a fuck, but like
yeah.
it's just kind of like I never. I mean, I don't know. Some dudes act like females without disrespect to my women, but some dudes just act like really like catty, and it's just kind of like and petty, and it's just kind of surprise. I mean, I guess it shouldn't surprise me because I've met some really catty dudes, but like it surprises me that they would come up to you that way. It's like, oh yeah, we want you, but you need to lose a little weight. Like that's
Yeah.
just kind of like, I mean, this is me. This is
Yeah.
who I am.
It's,
You like my show, you like me.
Yeah, especially like in the music industry, right? When you look back and you see like heavy people who have fucking been super successful, right? Like you look at Lizzo, or you look at like Aretha Franklin, or you look at,
Lizzo.
yeah, you look at people like that, and you're like, Bro, they don't care about their weight, Like, and then
Yeah.
there's like, singers who fluctuate in weight, where like one season they're a little thick, the other season they're thinner. Like, ain't nobody
But
care.
it's
We're
because
trying to
that's
listen
just
to
how it
them.
is.
Yeah.
You can't even if you like have a regular diet of like you. I hate the word when the word diet is used as something that you restrict your food intake, because it's like the whole point of changing your diet is to be able to like live with this kind of food constant like every day for the rest of your life.
Right.
And so like I feel like I personally have been guilty of like those like diets on I never tried keto because I would never, I would die, but I know that I've like restricted myself a lot, done like actual diets and stuff. when I was in Zumba too, I was like, trying to lose weight, but then it's only temporarily because I cannot like continue to survive on that source of food. So unless you change, like put more vegetables and stuff like that, where it's like actual, food that I can live with for the rest of my life, I don't think it like works, because then you just regain it, and that's normal. Like sometimes, and it always matters too on like um your own like what's the word I'm looking for? Not mood, but like self-esteem. No, what is the word that I'm looking for? I guess kind of like mood. Like if you're going through some shit, sometimes you might not work out every day.
Yeah, you
Or
mean
you
like
might be working
phases?
like you might be working out more because it helps you like release stress and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
then when you stop because you're happy again, well, you gain weight because you're happy, and like
Yeah, you fluctuate. Yeah,
you fluctuate, and
for
that's
sure.
part of it, and that's more than common, and it's not, I mean, I'm not saying like I'm promoting obesity. I hate when they do that and they say that, because that's obviously not it. It's just like one thing is to accept yourself for who you are, and another thing is to like you know promote obesity. I don't think that anybody really tries to promote obesity except those like feeders. Oh my god, did I ever tell you about that?
Yeah, I know what those guys are for sure. But yeah, and like the word diet, we all know like that's just like, hey, like there's gonna be a party, or like I gotta go to a wedding in fucking a month and a half. I gotta go on this diet, right? Like that's not what we're talking about, right? Like that's the difference between people who think like a diet's gonna work
Right,
versus changing your entire like lifestyle or like the way you eat, right?
right.
Yeah, those are completely different things, and I think those two things aren't talked about enough as well. um and yeah, as far as the other thing is, yeah, when you fluctuate, that's what happens, like you said, you go through different moods, you go through different phases. Something like tragic could happen.
Right.
Anything could happen, where your weight could fluctuate, and any little thing can do it, right? And that's the delicate thing about keeping the weight off when you're working out or whatever like that. So yeah, I don't think people should worry too much about going on extreme diets, but just be conscious of the way that you eat, and just try to be happy, right? And as somebody big, I'm big, and I'll say it myself, like as far as like people who think that being like big is okay, like it's not. Like let's stop that shit, right? Like you could say that you're happy, and that's fine, and I could say that I'm happy, but come on, like let's be honest. I wake up every day and I'm like, dude, if I can get my shit together and I could lose like 30, 40, 50 pounds, like that's a big deal. Like when somebody's trying to lose that much weight, right? So that means obviously that there's something inside me that's unhappy at the end of the day. Like I might be like look okay and I'm happy, just going out doing my thing, but at the end of the day, every night, that's something that I do think about. So everybody who's big wishes they were smaller. Like that's really what it is, right? Like let's not pretend like, oh,
Well,
like
I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna. Sorry to interrupt. I'm not gonna tell you that I wish I was smaller. It's not like a thing like that. It's just more like I wish I can tell you that I'm 100% healthy,
right. or
because
or let's
because
say people everyone wishes they could cut out their bad eating habits.
oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah, right. So that the consequence of cutting that shit out would be
But
obviously.
burgers are so
Yeah, yeah,
good.
they're definitely good. I mean, wrap them in lettuce. I don't know, fuck, because it's mostly the bread that's fucking you up, really, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So
Or the hour you eat it, the time you don't like go work out.
yeah, that's true too. And and that's the difference, right? Like you can eat. Oh, you can eat well and not work out, and you'll be whatever, or you could like work out and then eat a little worse, and you'll still be like whatever. When you do the both in tandem, when you're working out and you're eating right, like that's when you hit the sweet spot, right? And it's not that you can't do it. is that you're not disciplined enough to do it, right? Like, and not you. I'm just talking about everybody, right? Like
No, but I'm
everybody
joking.
can,
I'm freaking
yeah,
joking.
everybody can do it, right? We always seen the transformations on Instagram of people who are like 3, 4, or 5 times our size, right?
Right.
And like they get on it, they're like eventually they hit their bottom, and they're like, yeah, this can't
But
continue,
the most
or
beautiful thing with those progress is when like they actually tell you how long it took them, because it's not like an overnight thing. You know,
no,
it's
of
not like
course
in
not.
1 year time
No.
I'm gonna be this thin. Like no, like these people are changing their daily routines, are not even like, not to say fighting with themselves, but fighting with the habits of doing it all the time. So like now they're changing their diet, they're changing their workout, they're changing their lifestyle. Like I definitely need to sleep more, and I know that's one of the things that makes me gain weight, that I don't
Mm-hmm.
sleep enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it also reflects back on like how much workout I get in a day. Like during quarantine, I've been stuck at home, so I'm guilty of like not walking my dog every day, and like giving me that like extra exhaustion in the night so that I can actually sleep well, you know? So there's so many factors to actually like the eating habits and the life-changing things that we have to do in order for us to like get that balance, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough, man. And like, and I always thought about it when I was on stage. I'm like, dude, like imagine like how many more people would watch our band if I was like in shape or whatever like that.
Oh,
Like, dude, that thought always crossed my mind. And this and like. It's true though, right? Like, cause like I've seen there was the other like cover band, right? The other Rage Against the Machine cover band that was like more from like Santa Ana or LA, and
mhm.
um the lead singer, he was like this skinny Asian dude, right? And they seem to have a lot more fan base than us, but they were also trying a
I
lot
think
harder.
I think it was
um
more that I think it was more that you would forget to promote the shows and like forget to
I
text me.
never
But
forgot to
you
promote
know,
a show. I was
I would
always
always
no,
put
no,
a
no, no,
proud
no, 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 no. I
face.
reject this completely because I fucking spent hours and hours and hours making flyers for each one of our fucking shows. So for somebody to come and tell me that I forgot to promote, how dare you? How dare you? And how dare you?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You know, much love, much love.
Maybe you forgot to go, or you forgot that you saw the flyer and then forgot to go. That's a different thing.
It was probably my ride. You know, I always want to drink. I always ended up having to drive. Everybody was
Yeah,
just coming to me
that's
and like,
tough.
okay, I'll go, but I gotta drive. I'm like, oh, what the hell, man?
Yeah. So I have to drive and not have all the fun that I want. I can have some fun, but not all the fun.
Not all the fun. I couldn't have all the IPAs I wanted while you were like headbanging out there.
Yeah.
Well, this is has been an awesome thing. Anything you want to say for closing, as far as like what you, this is a question I just came up with. What are your tips, or what would you say to your younger self, like if you could talk to anybody who's younger now, that to do the self-love thing?
Yeah, anybody who's out there who's if I could, not anybody, but if yeah, if I could talk to my younger self, I would say don't be ashamed of the sensations that you feel in your private areas. Definitely don't let anybody shame you into not doing it. Definitely do it in private though. You can't just be whipping it out wherever. Make sure that that you're safe. I mean, I can't. I didn't make the mistake of having of getting anybody pregnant right when I was young. So I would say good job. You did the bare minimum. And now I'm 35. I'm gonna be 35 and still no kids. So I'm able to hang out and do whatever I want, like do podcasts without like a kid crying in the back, right? So that's cool. And
Not that
yeah,
we're shaming anyone.
yeah, I got kids at work, right? So those guys are my contraception. Those guys are they remind me every day why I don't have kids, because they're a fucking handful, and I'd rather just hang out and do me. And yeah, other than that, I think that yeah, anybody out there who just feels like they're not like exploring themselves or their sexuality. Like, this show's gonna talk about it in the future, I'm sure, because Alex, you're open about that stuff. But yeah, man, you only live once. Like, try it all. Try fucking everything. Like, who's gonna tell you not to? Just make sure that everybody is safe. That you have consent. Please,
Yes.
guys out there, can we get consent? Like, you don't
Even if you
fucking
feel silly.
yeah, you don't gotta come out with a fucking checklist, right? And be like, hey, but one of the things that really creeped me out when I was fucking growing up was going to the club and watching a guy just grab a girl by the wrist, right? And be like, hey, could I talk to you? Like, that kind of shit is wild. I'm pretty sure it still happens today, but guys, get consent. Talk to your ladies. Check in on them when you guys are doing whatever, because just because she's letting you do something doesn't mean that she's enjoying it.
Right.
So definitely be conscious. Let your just don't be a fucking dirtbag, right?
For sure.
So
For
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and other than that, check me out at Discussion Lounge. I got some WandaVision episodes where I check out WandaVision and review it with my co-hosts.
Woo!
We talk about politics. We talk about all kinds of current events. We talk about everything that's popping. So yeah, go check us out on YouTube. And yeah, when this will be out,
I
hopefully you
will
guys
have
enjoy it.
I will have your information on here somewhere. Or at the end at the description of the video, but most definitely, and thank you so much. I very much appreciate it for all of this information, and I hope to have you back for other topics like the whole self-love, pleasuring yourself and going through that and not feeling any shame because of our culture and of our family. But most definitely, thank you so much for today, and I very much appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much for having me, and yeah, I'll be happy to come back again.
Yay! All right, well, thank you guys. Bye.
All right.
Thank you, Psycho Alex, and thank you, Alan. We'll make sure to have your information somewhere around here below, for that. But that was what he thought about the entire situation, about the men and the struggle of self-love. And I wanted to share a little bit of things that I found on the internet that could help guys understand and what does self-love mean. So one of the things most definitely is that well, in my opinion, is that we don't talk about it enough. We don't give information enough. There's not like, women's pages that share and talk about like self-love this and care for that and hold up. Gotta hydrate. We don't talk enough about like what it means for a man to self-love, and I loved all you guys' answers and I appreciate all of you guys' help. But to me, I'm gonna explain to you guys first. Like, to me personally, what self-love is, a couple of the things that you guys mentioned and a couple of the things that were not mentioned. One of the things that I found on the internet was to be a friend to yourself. Like, treat yourself like you would treat a friend, and hopefully you guys treat your friends good. But in the sense that support yourself, cheer on yourself. Like, I feel like one of the things that I often do too is that I'm always like, oh yeah, my friend, you got this, like, competition, but you're so smart, you're so this, you're so that, like, you got this, you could take care of it. I don't know, and other situations where like they're having issues with their partner, have talk to them and you're a great person and all this stuff. And then whenever my friends have something that they do and they succeed at it, it's like I'm always like cheering them on and like, making sure they know that they did a great job and that it's not easy, or even if it was easy, like, they're smart and they did a great job. But I can't do that for myself. Like, it takes me so much to accept a compliment from other people, let alone from myself. Like, I have myself on like the highest standards that you guys don't even understand. Like, I'm always saying, yeah, I did that, but like, you know, there's people who out there who do it greater, who do it better, and who like have more experience or have more support. Um, Earlier today, I'm gonna be honest. Earlier today, I was having self doubt about this whole shenanigans and like like what am I doing? I just self doubt and all these things, you know, like that happen, and just like we need to be able to cheer ourselves. We need to be able to be our friends and like, you know, say that, yeah, dude, that hat looks rocking. You know, anything. But anyway, so self love to me is it could be for men. Self love for men could be uh taking care of your skin, making sure you shave, you know, that you are you feel good about how you smell, about what how, you know, you're perceived. Not that we need to care all about what people think, you know, fuck what people think, but that you definitely work on your like feel good about who you are, like represent yourself entirely all the time. Um and one of the things, like, for those of my guys that I asked that didn't have an idea or wanted me to explain the question a little bit more, it's like it it's okay to love yourself. I often hear comments of like people who think that that's a girl thing, or that's for um girls and not for men, and like, you know, the stereotypical shit. And it's just like caring for yourself, you know, being having a routine of self-care, like, I don't know, putting sunscreen on your face, putting lotion on your face. Those of us who have acne, you know, make sure you have that treatment. Buy yourself clothes, treat yourself, like we said in the video. You know, like we said in the video, like we said in the interview with Alan, self pleasure. You know, there's so many things that take care of yourself that have to do your mentality, your spirituality, like all those things are really important. And that, and having goals and being able to set them on your own and be able to succeed them on your own, and understand that, like, if something happens and your family is not there, if something happens and your partner's not there, if something happens and your best friends are not there, you're still going to be all right, because you got yourself to get yourself out of whatever it is. You know, it takes a lot to do it by yourself, but it's not impossible. And most definitely, a lot of us, like some of my friends, didn't have that family, didn't have that opportunity to share and to receive support from anyone else. So you only have yourself at the end of the day, you know, and that's important. So some of the things that I found again was that in order for men to love themselves, they must feel they're lovable and deserving of love, creating a positive loop inside our brains that extend that out to the world. And that was a little bit mind blowing to myself, because it's true. Like, oftentimes we think that we're not deserving of love, and that's a lie. And that is part of self-love, you know, like understanding that, if I think it goes back to what my friend was saying, that, you know, he looked at his wife and like he looked at his daughter, and that was part of his thing, that was like reminding him that he needed to take care of himself, and that he needed to be there for that family, and that, you know, he was deserving of love. And that was very beautiful to me. Forming a friendship with yourself, this is what I was talking about. It's an essential part of love. Oftentimes they struggle with feelings of inferiority, anger, frustration, and self-righteousness, and tear themselves apart. I think this is one of the things that I thought most of the guys were going to tell me, you know, that like, yeah, we have this whole like, oh, men are so superior and all this stuff, but then we don't let them be themselves. but then we don't let them tell us how their emotions work. Like, we're like, oh yeah, you can be emotional, but just not like that. Or you can tell me how you feel, but you can't feel like that. Like, that's not being open to any man being able to be vulnerable and to talk about his emotions and stuff. Or like you know, them explaining it to us that how they tear themselves apart because they think that they're not able to be loved, or that they shouldn't be loved. um this is one of the things, the compliments. This is what I was talking about. To tell yourself, I'm proud of you, I appreciate you, you did the best you could, don't beat yourself up about this, don't worry, it'll be okay. Like, as a friend, I can do that 100%. I am always telling my friends, don't, it was a hard situation, you handled it the best you could, you know. And most of the time it's true, and most of the time it's true about ourselves, you know. Like, we can only do, like, if I could to go back right now and think of something that I did 5 years ago, I only was able to do what I could with the knowledge I had at the moment. But now that I'm older, now that I understand things differently, now that I have gone through some shit, I can understand that I did the best I could, and I have to forgive myself for whatever I did or for whatever happened, you know. And it's done. Now I am a different person. Now I'm working on something, trying to be better and caring for myself. So take your compliments, compliment yourself, and accept it, you know, and understand that you did the best you could, and it's okay. And tomorrow you can try again. You know, we luckily and God blessingly, for those of you who believe, you know, you have tomorrow again to try it again, or to do it again, and to do the best you can again, you know. And not beat yourself up about it. Another thing is that I found it's really interesting is that this is an article, by the way, that I found, and there's a few tips and stuff and things. But first of all, I just wanted to go over, like, what are the things that, like, you know, men think. And so self-love teaches men how to be affectionate to the rest of the world. And men oftentimes are discouraged of being affectionate. That's what I was talking about. Because otherwise, if there's a man, and we see this all the time, and I'm guilty of sometimes joking around with my friends that they're pussy whipped, or that they yeah, mostly that they're pussy whipped. I don't mean it as a disrespect though. It's like respectfully, you know. It's cool. But nah, there's some people who, I feel like there's a difference though. There's like that whole toxicity, and then there's like the respect you have for your partner, and stuff, to have, like, to be affectionate and stuff. I mean, I want a pussy whip guy. I'm just kidding. Yeah, he's not gonna do it anyway. So, you know, a lot of us think that it's funny and want to make fun of it and make a big deal about it, but then we want an affectionate guy. And this is one of the things that I really pissed me off, because that I do myself, and that I see it a lot on social media and stuff. Like, we want our guys to be affectionate. We want our guys to be able to open and communicate with us and tell us how they feel and tell us why they're upset, instead of just, like, being angry and shutting the door in our faces, or, like, disconnecting and not communicating with us. Oftentimes men do that, and that's usually a sign that something's wrong with them. But what is their first reaction? At least personally, I don't know about you guys, about you girls, but me personally, when my partner shuts down or is, like, ignoring my texts and stuff, disconnects from a conversation, is because my first thought is, I did something wrong. My first thought is, he doesn't like me anymore, or, like, you know, I mean, not that extreme, but, like, there's something wrong, that I did something wrong, I did something wrong, you know, what the hell is up? And it's usually something going on. He had a bad day, you know. It has nothing to do with me, and they just disconnect. So we need to be able to open an avenue for them to be able to communicate. And when dudes show affection, we need to change that. We need to stop trying to say that they're pussy whooped, or that they're pathetic, or that they're mama's boys, or that they have no balls. These are comments that were in this article, and I know that between dudes, this happens. I know that between dudes, they say things like that, you know? And like I said, I'm guilty of using pussy whipped. Like, because some of my friends, sometimes I feel like they're just pussy whipped. But, it now when it gives me this perspective of like thinking that they're just trying to show their love for their woman or for their partner, you know, it's wrong to use that, you know? Because I want to be able to say that my dude's affectionate with me and that he can care for me and that he's not afraid to show it out in the world. And um we can't do that if we can't how to explain it, we can't demand a dude to be affectionate or to be affectionate in public when, you know, we ourselves make fun of other people for doing it. They're not gonna do it. They don't want to fucking look like pussy whipped or fuck with their ego, you know. So let's change that. I am definitely, after this, learning a lot out of this. I feel like I'm definitely gonna think about it twice before I call anyone else pussy whipped, you know. Because it's respect. It's mutual respect. It's respect, and he wants to be. They want to show their affection, so therefore they can, you know. So one of the things that I found was really interesting is this: self-love is not smugness, thinking you are any different, you are awesome and different than being, you are better than anyone else, or thinking, you know, to recognize who you are, where you came from, the progress you made, and the evolution. I think this is really cool. Like, it's true. There's a lot of guys who may seem a little bit like arrogant, but in reality, I think I have a post about this. It's like, you may think that I think I'm beautiful and that like my posts are all like I'm so gorgeous and I'm so this, but like, you don't know the struggle that I've been through to understand that I'm beautiful, regardless of what anyone else thinks, or regardless of like what society thinks and demands of me. Like, I'm beautiful and I love myself. And men should be able to do that. Men should be able to think that they're awesome and they're cool and that they're awesome and handsome, but that doesn't need to be like a thing where we confuse it and we treat them like they're arrogant. But they also should not be arrogant, because there's a difference. Women women oftentimes, like I was talking about earlier, are reminded of their inner strength, and like there's a lot of posts because we did have to go through a lot. Let me make this clear though. We have to go through a lot. You know, we're in an era where we're trying to change the hierarchy and the patriarchy, and we want to make sure that we are seen and understood and stuff. So there is a lot of women stuff out there for that reason, because there's still a lot of fighting between us women about who is better, instead of like cheering each other on. The whole like feminism fight is a thing, and that's a whole other episode. But it's important to understand that there is a lot of stuff out there for us women compared to men, because we live in a patriarchy, and there is a lot of information for women to be strong, for women to fight, and to you know, love themselves and all these things that we don't get to see so how the other half lives, like the men, you know. So men have a privilege because of the patriarchy, but often hate themselves and become victims of their failures and of the system, instead of telling them they should I am guilty of this as well. This is terrible. I am guilty of telling them they should just get over it, you know. Because like we as women have struggled so much more through so much more for years of like the patriarchy and of like the standards of men being above a woman, or a woman being behind a man. But a lot of these dudes don't think that way, or don't like that, or don't understand why it has to be like that. And we just tell them to get over it whenever they have something, whenever anything's wrong, um, whenever they have expressions about it. And I feel like instead of doing that, and like this article says, we should tell them to love themselves and support themselves. And this is what I'm trying to do. You know, like, this is why I believe so strongly into saying that I don't have to put another man down in order for a woman to be higher up. You know, it's important to be able to see that men struggle with self-care, with self-love, with understanding that they are allowed to take care of themselves and they're allowed to love themselves, and that they should keep in mind to take care of themselves, to be mentally well, and to be spiritually well, or maybe spirituality is not for everybody, but to be, having self-care and physically taking care of themselves. And I don't mean, like, I truly believe, like, I know you guys saw the interview with Alan, but I truly feel that it's not about, like, being physically fit, like, I'm gonna be like a supermodel size. There's a lot of things that I have to change in order for me to be able to do that. Probably impossible, or surgically possible, but I don't have the money for that. You know what I mean? I care about myself to be physically fit and to be healthy. That to me is very important, and I feel like guys should be able to love themselves and care for themselves and be healthy and support themselves and cheer themselves on, and that is part of self-love. There was one thing that said that people who grow up surrounded by true love, affection, support, understanding, loyalty, creativity tend to speak love fluently, and they stand tall, and they're ballers of the heart. Now, my friend, not necessarily a baller of the heart, according to his own responses, but he did have that. He did have family. He did care to have that support from his family, and that care from his family, and was able to go through a lot of tough times in his life because he had that support, and because he knew that at the end of the day that he would have that support. But for all of those of us who don't have that, I'm not saying I don't have a supportive family, but who don't have that communication and that open channel, you have yourself, and that's okay, and you can learn to do that and learn to take care of yourself. And I mean, I feel like ultimately you did, for those of us who don't have that, we do, because we're here, and some of us are in relationships, some of you are in happy families, and some of you are happily alone, and some of you still take care of yourself, every day. Maybe not 100% like this list, but it's important, and you're doing it, and cheer yourself on. And if you are missing any of these tips, pointers, and reasons, and conditions, or whatever, like, try it out. Take care of yourself. Feel yourself a little bit more with these, like, cheering on, and like being your own friend and stuff. Here are things that I found, 5 tips for men to practice self-love, and I just want to get this a little bit over with you guys before we go. So 5 tips. Tune out negativity. That's one of the things that we first mentioned. Anybody who is toxic, anybody who is bothering you, anybody who's not bringing anything to making you a better person, out. Tune them out. Tune them out. Block those beautiful ears of yours. Block those beautiful eyes of yours. And you don't need to see that. You don't need to have that. Celebrate your accomplishments. Again, just, You are an amazing person. You accomplished this. You succeeded. Some of us wanted to go to college and couldn't, but you graduated high school. You did that, and a lot of people don't. So celebrate your accomplishments. You have an amazing job. You got through a tech school. You uh, are single, but you are where you are, and you're doing so much better. Um, love on yourself. Again, it could mean like you sleep early, you start a diet, you don't do diets. Change your diet. Don't do diets. Change what you eat. But you decided to wake up 10 minutes earlier today because you wanted to give a little workout, have a little shower, soak in like Alan, and take that and have a good day. Uh take care of yourself, eat better, treat yourself. If you want to have that chocolate cake, have your chocolate cake. And nurture your interests. This is one of the things that I didn't get a chance to, and it was really important to me. I feel like because in partnerships, I see this a lot. Relationships, I'm not accusing like all of us. I feel like I'm guilty of it too. When I have had a partner, sometimes I just want him to be all to myself, and I want them to just pay attention to me. But we're individuals, and you get to have your interests. You get to do your own thing, and you get to be yourself. You get to have friendships. I think this is very important, and I will make a whole episode about relationships and being able to have friendships and being able to be your individual self. Not everybody's a gamer, but be able to do your video game thing, and like be understood about it. Uh, just nurture your interest and be able to be your one self, be an individual, regardless of your relationship status and regardless of um where you at in your personal life. And just nurture your interests. I think it's really important. And believe that you deserve happiness. Do what makes you happy. If it's like going on nature walks, if it's going to the beach and enjoying yourself, if it's spending time with your family and dedicating that, just make sure that you do whatever makes you happy, and you enjoy it, and take a whole lot of advantage of it. And that is part of what I was able to get off the internet, and a little bit more of what I believe, and what my friends were able to tell me what self-love means to them. I think it's a very interesting topic. I was really excited to talk about this with you guys and tell you guys a little bit more, and introduce you to the idea of self-love. I think it was really cool when a lot of my friends whom I asked questions to were didn't really think about it, and then when I asked them, it did take a minute for them to think about it, because we live in such a fast-paced life, not to mention here in LA, and that we don't really talk about it, we don't really think about it, and I think it's really important that we do. I think it's really important that we remind ourselves that at the end of the day, we have ourselves, and we need to take care of ourselves, love ourselves, and do the best we can for ourselves. And so that was all for you guys today. I just wanted to remind you to take care of yourself and love yourself, and take care of your family and be there for your family, especially in the COVID times. We need to be able to take care of ourselves and not go insane. Something that I'm always mentioning to you guys, I probably sound like a broken record, but like, mental health is important. If you need help, there are sources out there that you can get help. I have recently found a lot of stuff coming across to me as like lines where you guys can just call and ask for help and find a therapist who could be able to hear you out and listen to you, what you're going through, and understand, maybe give you an idea about that whatever it is you're going through is not insane, and it's not out of the ordinary, and we're all feeling alone, and we're all having trouble, and it's perfectly normal to want to talk to somebody, and somebody who you can trust, and somebody who won't be putting your business out there. But this is all about self-love, the struggle of self-love, and Don't struggle, you guys. We are all in this together, but at the same time, you're in this on your own, and you can self-love and fuck with society thinks. Let's make a better society for our children, where our children, our boys, are able to express themselves, and our boys are are able to understand the difference of self-care and self-love, and arrogance and stuff. Just let them love themselves and teach them how to love themselves if they didn't teach you, and if they did, then pass it on to your next generation. It's really important. But take care of yourselves, love yourselves, feel yourselves, and we'll have a whole episode about feeling yourself, by the way. I think it's a really interesting topic. I think that's what's going to be coming up next. But on my next episode, we will be talking about women and self-love and their struggle, or our struggle of self-love, and how society makes us feel. And stay tuned for the following one. And I love you guys. Thank you so much for all your support. Oh yeah, and shout out to Poopy and Scoopy. I love you guys for always helping me out, always giving me the best advice and giving me the most information. And it's been fun. So we'll see you guys till next episode. Ciao.